The founder series is me and hopefully other founders just sharing the answers to three questions. What was difficult? What was good? And what did we learn from the previous week? And hopefully this helps somebody else. Good. Yeah. So exciting times. I finally have my office set up. So I'm very happy with that. So, I mean, obviously since COVID, we actually moved into this house. When we bought this house, we literally moved in a week before COVID. And at that stage, I only had my son. My wife was still pregnant with my daughter. So I used my daughter's room as my study, which was fine. And then we were back in South Africa for 15 months. So when we got back here, my daughter was still small enough that we put her in a cot in our room and I could still use the office. And then I slowly moved out of that and we have a playroom downstairs. And I turned that into an office. With the playroom. So that's where I've been the last, year and a bit, whatever. And I was looking at office space to rent, and there was various sort of permutations of going to someone else's house and then going into London and all that stuff. And renting an office in my town was ranging between 250 to £1,000 a month, depending on what you get. But obviously for a one-person office, they're in high demand. So they very rarely come up. So I was kind of just keeping the playroom going. And I happened to just see an advert for a log cabin at the gym or something. And, for the $3,000 or so for the offices each, it works out quite well. If you take the cost of the office, the cost of the concrete slab that you have to put down, we did some other work in the garden at the same time. But I've got this 4 meter by 2.5 meter room, which is pretty much the same size as what I had inside the house. It's probably a little bit smaller, but now I'm outside. It's been set up with all the, my wife didn't want me to have the whiteboards on the wall. So now I've got the whiteboards on the wall. I've got network points outside. I've got power outside, all the rest of it. It's big enough that my wife and I can share it. So, cause she's currently working out of the other spare room that we have, but we've got people staying with us at the moment. So it's a bit of a pain. She's been booked off because she had surgery last week, but, if she was working and people were staying here and all that stuff, it doesn't work. So the original plan was she was going to move downstairs into the playroom and I would move outside. But I took the executive decision as the man and got in trouble for it later to buy a bigger one than I initially thought we needed, which is what we've got now. And it's big enough to put both of us next to each other. So I've spent a little more than I planned to, but it's done properly for us to use. So I've just spent this morning, sort of 2 hours this morning, putting the desks in, putting in the carpets, all that kind of stuff. So it's ready. So, ready to get going. Yeah, I'm chuffed, and also there's a psychological thing to it as well. I think, taking over the kids' playroom and then wanting to use the playroom, but now I'm on a call late at night, or if I want to work late at night and I want to do phone calls like with America or early morning with India, you can't really do that in the house because you wake people up, especially me. I talk really loudly, as I'm told by everybody. So, this is great. I can sit outside here now and I can work. And it's, I think it's also a good thing. And we can talk about this as part of the founder stuff as well. I mean, I have definitely burnt out a few times this year, overdone it completely to the point that I think my body just gave up on me on Friday. I had some custard and I was sick as a dog. And I think that was like the last hurdle, the last thing to put me over. And I think having a place that is not inside your house that you work. So like when I leave the log cabin, I'm done. Like that's the end of the day. And once I cross the boundary into the house, that's the end of the working day. I'll take my laptop will stay. Okay, I might take my laptop inside because I don't want to I don't want to leave it outside in case they break in. That's South African mentality. But having a separation, I think, is important. And also a lot of being in the playroom is a lot of clutter. Like the kids would play with their toys. So every morning I have to clean up the playroom before I start. Now I don't have to do that. Now my desk can be my desk, it can be clear. And I think psychologically that's so important. And we're lucky, fortunate. We have the ability to use some of our garden to put in a log cabin. And, it took me 2 weekends to build it with some help with a friend. but we're up and running in 2 weeks. And the guys I mean, the funny story behind this is when I ordered the log cabin from the first guys, Tiger Sheds, they were projecting like end of August delivery. And I just happened to go to a local garden center by us where the kids go and play on the pirate ship, and spoke to a guy there, and he said, no, look, we can do it in 5 weeks. So I canceled the one and I took out the order with the other one, and they matched the price as well, which is great. And they actually delivered a week and a half ahead of schedule. So I'm actually into this building a month ahead of where I thought I would be, which is also great because like you don't have that nagging, I've got to do this thing still. And it's been bugging me for 2 weeks now to get it done because we had to do the concrete and it rained, and then the concrete thing started. And when I stored the wood, I didn't store it properly. So it all bent. So in order to build this thing, I could have built it on my own to a point, but because I'd bent the wood, I had to bend the wood back as we put it in. So it was quite a tough 6 hours to put the thing together. And it's still a little bit, I mean, the challenge with wood is it doesn't line up perfectly. So it's the unit's slightly slanted to one side, but I think that'll change once we, start using it and it starts sweating and breathing and shifting around to fit together. But I'm chuffed with the results so far. It's come out really nicely. And it's always a trick when you've got a new building, like how do you figure out the lighting? So we only put in two spotlights here, because initially I thought I'd have the table a different way, but I've taken the table so I face out to the garden, so I get as much natural light for my eyes as possible. And then also if my kids are playing, I can kind of keep an eye on them. And then I can use the walls for whiteboards and other stuff. So we'll see how this works out. Sorry, my son's going off to holiday club, which is the other fun part about this. It's school holidays here for 6 weeks, and everyone needs their space. What was hard? So burnout, definitely burnt out, definitely broken. There's, besides the physical tiredness and fatigue, there's the mental fatigue of not being able to find motivation to do anything. Looking at your computer screen and thinking, I can't even do a meeting today. I can't even do an email. So definitely going to try and find some money to go on holiday and take a disconnect from everything. I think I've just pushed so hard for 7 months, not actually longer, probably a year of just too much. So that's the hard thing. Well, I mean, good has been finished in the office. I can feel already this has changed my perspective of things. I feel excited again to do stuff. They say change is as good as a holiday, and this is what it feels like. I feel like now that I'm not constrained as much as I was. And the constraint that I was feeling is that, I couldn't, when we were back in South Africa for 15 months, I had my own office and I could just work as long as I wanted to work. And if I wanted to do phone calls, I could just do phone calls. Being back in the house was very difficult because if I wanted to do a phone call and people were sleeping, time of the morning, time of the night, whatever it was, kind of constrained you to certain things that you can and can't do. So I think this gives me freedom, which I'm very excited about. And I've also, I value a whiteboard, and I haven't been able to use a whiteboard for the whole year. And I'm excited. I've got 2 whiteboards, so double the fun. So there's a joke about burnout that you only know you've burnt out when you burn out. I don't think that's completely true. I think you could pick up on it. So one of the things I've enjoyed about building this log cabin is it's given me something tangible to do. So like every night or every couple of days I've worked on it and I've done some stuff and I've improved it, and it's a physical thing, and you can get, a response to the work that you're doing. So the lesson for me is that you've got to have stuff that you can see tangible results out of regularly, so you feel like you're achieving something. Because if you get caught up in the spiral of constantly on the treadmill, I think it just puts you in a bad mental state, and you will burn out. And I thought things like going to gym and going for walks and all that stuff was keeping me going, and it probably was to an extent, but not having that tangible thing to fall back on was a problem.